When importing models using the tool, we will likely encounter some errors, because different engines works differently. In the case of armatures, the most common errors when using the tool are two: bone parentage errors and weight painting errors. Fixing bone parentage errors is relatively easy, because generally, using the tool, you just need to understand which is the last bone in the series and parent it to one of the main bones near it. To find this bone, we go into pose mode and move the bones to see if they are actually part of the chain we are interested in. Then, in the Bone tab, we look for Relations, and from there, we can see the parent bone. Right-click and go to Jump to Target to select the parent, and repeat until we find a bone that logically cannot be the parent. In this case, the relationship lines, the dashed lines you see on the screen that connect the bones based on parentage, come in handy. To fix the parentage, we go into Edit mode. Select the last row of the bone chain, go to the Bone tab, and under Relationship, we replace the parent bone with the one that makes the most sense to move that particular part of the clothes. In this case, it's the hips that should move them. Right-click and press Copy to select it, because otherwise we will only apply the parentage to the active bone and not to the rest selected. While I proceed to fix the remaining rows in the same exact way, I would like to specify that if you want to perform this operation on an unnamed armature, the operation would be the same. You would just need to search for the main bones. Since it would be a tedious and rather long process, in the description, there is a list of the main bones with the corresponding names of my armature. This was a very straightforward case. Sometimes, these disconnected bone chains are found between two bones that both seem to be potential parents. But only one of the two works appropriately. In this case, both should be tried. For example, this bow on Kiriko's leg could theoretically be parented to either the shin or the foot. Let's try an A/B test. As before, in pose mode, we look for the row of bones at the head of the chain. Change the parent to bone tar shin, and copy the parentage to the other selected bones. Now, switching to the right foot, we try the same thing, but we select ta foot, R as the parent. By moving the bones in pose mode, we can observe which of the two choices is obviously the right one. So we can go back and replace the wrong parentage with extreme confidence. The second common error is incorrect weight paint. This error differs from the previous one due to the lack of bones that should control the desired part, or in the case of unfinished weight paint. In pose mode, we search for the bones that should move the part with the incorrect body weight. For safety, we check all the adjacent bones. In object mode, we select the mesh, which in this case is already separated from the rest of the meshes, and then the armature, and go into weight paint mode. We select the bones using Alt and right-click to find the bone with the active body weight. If the color is purple or only blue, they are not the right bones. We select the gradient tool, and by pressing N in the tool menu, we change the fall-off to constant. We press and drag with the left mouse button, and we will have a unique body paint. As we can see, this did not solve the problem. To fix it, we need to return to weight paint mode, reselect the bone, go to the weights menu, and select Normalize All. As usual, we test again and see that now the mesh follows the body perfectly. The second part of the body to fix is the upper belt. As we can see, there are no bones present, unlike in the lower part. We analyze the mesh. We can see that painting it in weight paint would be relatively difficult, so to make sure we do a good job, we go into edit mode and select the part we need to modify in weight paint mode to separate it from the rest of the meshes. We select the connected parts of the mesh using the L key. Noticing some difficulty in selecting hidden vertices, I switch to edge selection mode by pressing the 2 key. I continue the selection process, and to be sure not to miss any part of the mesh, I press H to hide the selection and look for all the parts I haven't selected. I hide everything by pressing H and then pressing Alt and H. The selection becomes visible again. With the mesh selected, I press P and separate the mesh by selection from the drop-down menu. With the mesh selected, I could simply press Shift and H to hide everything not selected. But in this case, for some mystic choice, I decide to hide all the other meshes manually. We look for the bone that should handle the upper part, and notice that it does not apply any weight to the upper part. In this case, we cannot use the gradient, but we must paint manually with the brush to avoid interfering with the bones that handle the lower part of the mesh. I always prefer to work with the brush with constant fall-off, because I am not a fan of weight painting. But if you are more experienced than me, you can manage the weight paint as you prefer. I cover the part in question, trying not to miss any spot. By pressing R, I move the bone to check for any errors. As before, I go to the Weights menu and press Normalize All. In pose mode, I check once again and notice I missed a part. I go back to weight paint mode to fix the error. I check again for safety and conclude. like, and follow. Or it will soon be high noon for you.